Hello and welcome to the Windows Movie Maker Audacity edition. In this episode, we will talk about how you can use Audacity to create multiple tracks into one track that can then be used with Windows Movie Maker. As you can see here, I have my presentation all timed out perfectly, just the way I want it. That's very important before you make your final track because you need to know exactly when and where each track will start and where each track will end. You can see here, this is my first sound effect in my presentation. It's the sound of a baby crying, and it starts at 2 seconds, 0.53, and it ends at 6 seconds. And then my next audio is my first sentence, which is actually called sentence 0, and it starts at 8 seconds, 0.2, so 8.2 seconds, and goes all the way over to 10 seconds. And you can see that I've got several sentences here. These are all sentences that I've used the AT&T website to create a computerized narrator for my film. Now, before I get into adding the music, I'm just going to show you how it sounds now. So I'm going to bring my scrub brush over towards the very beginning of the movie and just hit play on the preview. There's a baby crying.
World hunger affects everyone. Agriculture and food security affects about 1/3 of the global population.
So you can see that my narration has a lot to do with the pictures that are being shown up top. So it's important that the sentences match with the photographs. As you can see in the timeline, this is my auditory sentence, and this is the photograph that's being shown over here. Now, I would like to add some music to my presentation to add a lot more emotion to it. As you can see, when I played you that clip there wasn't a whole lot of emotion in there. But can you imagine a World Hunger presentation using this soundtrack behind the audio of the narration and the sound effects? Oops, that's not the correct one. Let's see if I can find it here. Here it is here, I believe. This should add a little bit of a somber feeling to my presentation. So I'm going to want to have that music behind the narration. But watch what happens when I bring this in here. I'm going to drag it into my presentation right here. See? It bumps all of my narration sentences completely out of the way. There they all are there. And that will not work. So what I need to do is I'm going to go over to Edit and hit Undo. That'll bring my sentences all back to where they belong. And I'm going to use a program called Audacity. Now, Audacity is a program that allows you to create one track from multiple tracks. And you'll notice earlier I was talking about the different timing of each clip. And what I've done is I've taken each sentence and sound effect, and I've marked off in a text file where they start and where they end. You can see right here, I've taken the time before starting the presentation here to mark off where each one starts and where each one ends. And this is important when we get into Audacity. I'll show you why right now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to load up Audacity. Here it is here. And I'm going to load up my files that I'm going to be using. These are the files. This is the music, this is the baby crying, and these are my narration sentences. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to import them into Audacity. And I'll probably fast forward the film a little bit as I'm doing this so you can see what I'm doing, but not waste too much time just watching me import them. But I'm going to import them sound effect first, and then music, because that's the order that I wanted to have happen in my presentation. So now the music is in there. And I'm just going to add in all the rest now. So next time you see the screen, it'll probably be all finished. Okay, you can now see all of my sound effects have been entered into Audacity. I've got my baby crying up here on the top, and then the music, and then I've got sentence 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and if I scroll over here, you'll see they go all the way down to sentence number 9. However, if I hit play right now, what you're going to hear is the baby crying and the music and all of these all at once because they haven't been moved. I'll show you what I mean. If I go here to the Move tool, I can actually drag the sounds around. And this is going to be important when we get back to our timing, because we're going to move each sentence to where it should be on the timeline. But for right now, I'm just going to show you what it'll sound like right now if I hit play. Needless to say, if you heard that on a YouTube video, you would probably think that, I don't know, something crazy is going on. But we don't want that, do we? So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take each sentence and mark off where it should be. And looking at this, at my timeline, I know that sound effect 1 starts at 2 seconds, 0.53. So I'm going to take the sound effect, I'm going to zoom in on the timeline so that we can see each second, maybe even each second moved into the tenths. I'm going to scroll over here. And the first sound effect should start at 2 seconds, 253. So I'm going to grab it and I'm going to move it to 253. That should be right about there. Now the music is going to be starting at 6 seconds. So I'm going to grab the music, I'm going to move it over. I'll zoom out a bit just to make it a bit faster. I'm going to grab my move tool again. It's about 6, so I'm going to put it near 6. And I'll worry about the fine tuning in a minute. So that's 6 seconds. My sentence 0, I'd already moved over here. Sentence 0 is at 8.2. And I'm going to fast forward the movie here. By the time you see the screen again, I'll have them all in place. Well, at least ready for fine tuning. Okay, I've fine-tuned, or I've gotten ready to fine-tune most of the tracks. They're pretty close. So what I'm going to do now to fine-tune it is I'm going to grab my magnifying glass tool and zoom in a little bit. And my first sound, I believe, was at 2.53. It's right there on the list there. So I'm going to zoom in until I can get some good fine-tuning down. There you go. 2.53 would be exactly there. I'm going to zoom out again. And I'll find my second sound. And the second sound should be at 6 seconds. So I'll zoom in a little bit here. I'm going to move it to exactly 6 seconds. Grab my move tool, move it over right there. Now I'll fast forward here and I'll arrange all the rest of my tracks here so you don't have to see me do that. But that's how you fine tune your tracks. Okay, I have fine tuned all the tracks and now we're ready for one of the last steps. One of the last steps is taking the music file, which is this track right here, and we're going to shape it a little bit. And I'll show you what I mean. I'm going to play the whole track right now, right from here.
World hunger affects everyone.
As you can
Agriculture and food security affects about one.
The music almost overshadows the narration, and we don't want that. We want to make sure that our viewers can hear what's being said very clearly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this music track and I'm going to shape it a little bit. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this track a little bit larger so we can see it a lot better. And I can also still see the first sound that we're going to have that might interfere with it. So now I'm going to zoom in a little bit like this. And just so I can see the very beginning of the music track up to the point where the first narration occurs. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab something called the envelope tool. Now here you can see the envelope, or the sound rather, starts at just about 8.2 seconds. And I've already pre-made these little notches here. They're very easy to make. All you do is you tap your mouse and you can make a notch. Just like this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring it down. And I'm going to bring this one. This is right close to the beginning of the sound, so I'm going to bring it up. what this is doing is it's making the sound, shaping the sound to be a lot quieter than it normally would. So you can see we've got a full range of sound here, and then it starts curving down now because I've used the envelope tool to the point where it's going to be very quiet. I'm going to make it a little bit more quiet. Bring it back here.
World hunger affects everyone. World hunger affects everyone.
You can see that the sound no longer
Agriculture and food security affects about one-third of the global
shadows the narration. So you can see how easy it is to shape the sound. I mean, if I wanted to, say I wanted to have it fade in again between each narration, I would make another point and then drag it up like this, or even leave it right where the other one is, and then have it drag up like this quickly, make another point, and then at this point, drag it down again. But we don't want to do that, because that would just sound kind of goofy with the music going in and out so quickly. So I'm going to leave it just like this. Oops. There we go. And now it's ready to export, or is it? I believe what you'll find is that the music now is still far too long for our video. The music is 2.5 minutes, while our presentation is 1.47, so it's 1 minute 47 seconds. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to find the 1.47 mark, which will be right about there, and I'm going to cut the music off right there. So select it and hit delete. And then grab the last little bit of it, and I'm going to go to Effect and Fade Out. Now I'm ready to export it. So I'm going to go to File, Export as MP3, making sure I'm not having anything selected at all. File, Export it as MP3, and call World Hunger Soundtrack, that's fine, putting it onto the desktop. You don't need to worry about filling out anything here. And it's exporting. It will take about 30 seconds, so I'm going to fast forward here.